So what happens is that inside, as the wave of time, okay, so this is time moving in this direction, and this is what we call space matter, space and matter, right? There's far more space than matter, in matter. So this is space matter, and this wave of time. And space matter is made up of what are called the elements. So we got these and the elements in Sanskrit are called the tattvas. And that's earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And that's what composes your body. You break those down into chemicals, but that's what composes your body. So your body is always new, because what happens is that this, sometimes they call it a bubble, I'm calling it a wave, all right? But this is you, and as you pass through, does this space matter travel with you? Does it travel with you? No. No. The space matter is always new. What travels with you? Now. Now travels with you as a wave. Space matter is always new. This is not something that science could even come close to analyzing yet. Not even come close. So don't put that pressure on those poor people. So if the space matter is always new, as the wave of time passes through, and we're talking moment here, right? This is not a second. This is just moment, now, now, now. So you are always new. Physically, you're always new. What isn't new?
Consciousness. Your thought. Your consciousness.
Forget thought. Consciousness. And what it's made up of, what controls your consciousness, is your attitude. Your memory. Attitude containing memory and anticipation. Do you understand? Yes?
Yes.
So what you have is you've got this attitude, this behavioral pattern. In Sanskrit it's called gunas, G-U-N-A-S. Tattvas and gunas. And these gunas, there's 3 of them. They are an attitude, a behavioral pattern that you work with. That's what travels with you. That's what maintains your conscious awareness. So if you want to change, what are you going to have to change?
Your attitude.
Your attitude, your behavior patterns. Attitude and behavior patterns. You cannot change anything else. You can't change your generations. Your generations that's what they are. It's an equation. But the only creature that has the capacity to change the attitude, to actually change the behavioral patterns and the attitude, is the human. So we think my free will determines whether I drive a Chevy or a Bentley. No, your free will is given to you so that you can actually change your attitude and your behavior patterns. That's the only reason. Otherwise, you would be living on instinct alone. So most people give their whole life up to instinct, emotional reaction, instinctual reaction, and they make their important decisions about Chevys and Bentleys. They take all that free will capacity and determine whether it's a blue dress or a yellow pair of pants? Should I be an engineer or a psychologist? Oh, I want to be free. No freedom. None whatsoever. Just an illusion. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
So it matters, not to be conflicted with this, but it matters. These are the, we'll call them by their Tattvas, tattvas, right? The gunas. Because the tattvas are just going to have to be drawn up according to your genealogy. So your will, your attitudes, and your behavioral patterns. What you're doing in this room all these days, each day of the classes, is that you're doing yoga and meditation and chanting, kriyas, breathing, stretches, so that you can actually get down into anything that you can get your hands on. Anything that you can get your brain wrapped around, to be able to affect your behavioral patterns, your attitude, and your will. So that you can then use that to begin to very, very gently, nothing quick, because for every action there is a
Reaction.
So you don't want to make quick and big changes. You want to just, like water washing on rock, you want to just make gentle changes, so that what ends up happening is that you begin to dissolve. First of all, you begin to dissolve the Maya that surrounds you. All the stuff that you use to distract yourself. Party guy, Not that you shouldn't celebrate. I'm not saying that. Just don't make it your business. Don't make it the thing that hides all your pain. And then you're going to have to face your pain. Remember, when you're facing your pain, it's your imagination. No matter how real it feels, you've imagined it. Because not only do you dwell in your wave of time, your wave of momentum, the moment, moving, momentum, not only do you, but everybody that you're with is in that. Everything that you're doing is in that. Every circumstance that you have in your world is in that wave. I'm in your wave, you're in my wave. You have me in your wave according to you. I have you in my wave according to me. I work with people every single day. They bring me all sorts of stories. The one thing that I have to remind myself of with every single story is what?
It's not real. It's a story.
It's also my story. Otherwise, they wouldn't be existing in my wave of momentum. So I'm not just trying to figure out how they're going to resolve the story. How am I going to resolve the story? If I jump out of it and say, wow, you got a really messed up story, I've just magnified that story which I've now claimed is theirs for who? Me. The only way a healer can be a healer is to be the healing. So whatever happens to you
Happens through you.
happens through you. Do you see that now? So here's our wave of time passing through space matter, building anew every moment, building anew every moment with the memory and the anticipation which needs to be somewhat dissolved so that the attitude can be new. Because here's an easy thing that science has been able to grasp. How old are the oldest blood cells in your body? 112 days. Skin cells are even younger than that. Bone marrow and deep nerve cells are the ones that live the longest. They're 18 years old. But the majority of your body changes within 7 years. So why do you age? If your body is only 7 to 18 years old, why do you age? For the same reason that we're talking about here, attitudes and behavior patterns and will. That when that cell is 18 years old and passes it on, in your first 18-year cycle and passes it on, or 7 years old or 112 days old and passes it passes on how tired it is. It's glad that its time is up. And, hallelujah, and whatever else, right? And it passes that message on. So the beginning point of your bone marrow is going to be, somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 years old because of an attitude. Your physical cells have an attitude. Do you see how important it is for you to get all your physical cells to be, come on, let's all line up and let's all have a dance. Let's all celebrate. Let's all be alive. Yes? You remember when I say to you, stretch into the full extent of your body? Stretch into your body glove? Because if you're pulling back from the imagined threat that surrounds the moment of now, you're withdrawing from the fullness of your body, aren't you? So are those cells going to be enthusiastic or exhausted if you're withdrawing and they don't have any life support? Which is it?
Exhausted.
So if the exhausted cells reproduce, are they going to have exhausted or enthusiastic children?
Exhausted.
Exhausted. I mean, I'm mixing metaphors here, but you get the picture. Yes? That's why we age. They've done computer modeling of the human body, and it actually should function for about 338 years.
Wow.
But the reason that it doesn't is that that's 338 years of being fully alive. Not completely distracted. If you have a question, just hold it. I mean, not forever, but we'll get to it. So, what are some key points here? The middle path, right? And begin to train your desires to represent meaningful points along that middle path. What would be a good desire? Let's say that you've really clarified your diet. And you're extremely hungry. And you're passing through a little town in the Midwest or Deep South. and you've got a Rocky's grocery store and 3 super fast food restaurants. Food in 30 seconds. And you don't have a kitchen. You'd have to figure that one out. What is your desire saying? Your desire is saying, I'm hungry. I need to eat now. What is your discipline saying?
Healthy, raw,
Your discipline is saying,
nutrition.
eat food that's food. Don't eat food that just takes away the pain. Whatever that is. You know, hungry, hungry, hungry. It's not like painful, right? But it's what it is. This is where you have to get to. This is where you have to get your attitudes and your will and your behavior patterns. What would cause you to make the right choice in that, the wise choice in that circumstance?
Like love of self.
Say it again.
Love of self.
Okay, what is it?
Being realistic.
Consequence, love of self. What?
Knowledge.
Being realistic. Your consciousness. All right. Huh? Dedication. Discipline. I say that what would be the strongest would be the experience of the two. That you actually, that's where you use memory. You remember when the last time you just grabbed what was available. And you remember that it satisfied the hunger, but the consequence was something that you experienced, right? And you don't want to repeat that experience. So it includes all of the things that you said. In other words, you have the experience of what it's like to be nourished. And you also have the experience of what it's like to just, eat. Do you know what a potato chip is, by the way? A thin wafer of meaningless sugar starch saturated with toxic oil and salt.
Delicious.
Now that's what a potato chip is. When you're super hungry and you see that bag of kettle chips, some rationalization comes in, doesn't it? Right? I was best friends with the guy who started kettle chips some 35 years ago, right? So nothing against his product, but everything against his product. Do you understand the kind of choices you have to make in life if you want to be able to have any effect whatsoever on the will, attitudes, and behavior patterns so that you can stop living in the distractions of your Maya and then dissolve the very painful process of your imagined